Feilu Novel Network exclusively signed a novel. In the midst of a manga, these female protagonists are set to collapse. It took more than a decade to dispel the mystery of pregnancy and recall memories of past lives. But after awakening the memory, it is a desire to strangle oneself who had not awakened the memory before. Because its predecessor was actually the famous licking and gouging. Hideyori Zemura, enjoying the gentleness of her predecessor, took it for granted. Zhiqiu Shiyu treated his predecessor as a slave and occasionally mocked him. An Yilun, like a maggot, was sucking blood on her predecessor. I must avenge this, wait. Just reporting, he suddenly realized that the persona of other female protagonists in this world was not right. Feilu Novel Network reminds you that this novel and its characters are purely fictional. If there are any similarities, they are purely coincidental and should not be imitated. Commitment Letter. You are listening at novelfull.audio. I, pen name, Ingjiang Xiao-san, guarantee that the signed work belongs to my own original creation, and I will strictly follow the Feilu writer's convention in the creative process, adhere to originality, and eliminate the following violations. If there are any violations, I am willing to bear all the consequences caused by this one. Ensure that the signed work belongs to one's own original work and does not involve plagiarism or plot plagiarism in Chinese translation. 2. Ensure that no third-party works or plot are plagiarized during the creative process. 3. Ensure that this work is first published and the only contracted website on Feilu Novel Network. 3. Ensure compliance with laws and regulations during the creative process, including but not limited to, violations such as not involving politics, not involving pornography, gambling, drugs, promoting cults, not ghostwriting, not blocking or abolishing manuscripts, not hosting, not selling works or accounts, etc. 4. Ensure that regardless of the word count of the work, the signed work must complete the plot, never end, and never stop or end. 3 things to do when reading. Read, collect, and reward. 01 Roaring Sky Dog Male Lead. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Xia Academy Attendance Department. The sunlight shone through the leaves outside the window, and my gaze scattered light onto a young girl in the classroom. The girl has a proper cage and exquisite facial features, fair and transparent skin, and perfectly pink lips, the long black hair over her shoulders and a cute face that was so cute that she committed a foul. All indicate that this young girl is so cute that she committed a foul. However, at this moment, a puzzled expression did indeed appear on the face of this young girl. The girl's name is Xiao, and what confuses him is that Xiao is currently holding a diary in her hand. Xiao Bai's diary dungeon, Snowfall is exclusive. Looking at the diary in his hand, there was a hint of strong vigilance in Snow's eyes. Which spirit is teasing me on Earth? There was some confusion in the eyes as Snow fell. I have some impressions of this person named Xiao Bai, Xue, but these impressions are not very good, because Xiao Bai is a famous licking dog at Xia Academy. Even if one is indifferent to such things, they still have heard of Snowfall. Snowfall, I am worried that this diary may be used by some spirit to play with or curse myself. A special type of living organism that exists in this world is called a spirit. In the understanding of ancient people, it can also be considered as a monster or deity. And this era is an era of coexistence between humans and spirits. But since there are spirits, naturally there are also good spirits and evil spirits. And some of these evil spirits will use some means to harm humans. So the Snowfall is a concern whether it may be a means used by some evil spirit to harm humanity. As for why do you think so when it comes to Snowfall? Because this diary was dropped out of thin air and found on top of Snow's head. Attempting to abandon, tear up, burn, or invade, none of them could destroy this diary. After that, Snow accepted his fate. After hesitating for a while, Xue decided to open his diary and take a look. I actually traveled through TMD and only now have my memories awakened. That's okay, but before TMD awakened my memory, I was actually a licking dog. Toxic, and surprisingly, it's still the licking dog of that golden-haired loser named Eiri Zemura. And before awakening my memory, I actually thought that if an Yilun also made a choice between Eiri Zemura, Shiyu Kashizuki, and Kei Kato, then as long as Eiri Zemura was not chosen by an Yilun, I would have a chance. Damn it, you're disgusting to me. Even if you're just a licking dog, you're still willing to be a spare tire. And surprisingly, just because Eiri Zemura said she cooks delicious, she asked the game production company that joined an Yilun to be responsible for cooking for them, and without saying a word, she agreed to it. Isn't it just a part-time errand and cleaning for those people who cook? TMD gives me disgusting, absolutely disgusting, licking the dog makes me die. The snowfall was a great shock to my heart. Crossing. The term snowfall is not unfamiliar, as the term time travel often appears in light novels. But has anyone really traveled? Looking at the diary in his hand, Snow hesitated and finally decided to continue reading. I just want to figure out whether Xiao Bai is a time traveler, definitely not because of the thrill of peeking at someone else's diary. A blush rose on the face that was so cute that it exploded, and she spoke words she didn't even believe. Subsequently, Snow continued to open the diary. Fortunately, I finally awakened my memory and obtained the essential golden finger for travelers. As long as I write a diary, I can receive rewards. In addition, I also went through the anime world and was able to get close to so many anime wives. It's Snowy, Sigong Hui, Asaka AI, shaving and shaving and shaving and shaving and shaving Alina, shaving and shaving Alice. With so many anime wives, which one is not better than the golden-haired loser airport in Ing Lily, Zetsuan? I really can't figure out what I was before awakening my memory, greed village Ing Lili. Is it true that Eiri Zemura, who is greedy for money, is a wealthy woman who has an airport at a young age? Joke, it's not my Snow wife. Although they all have airports, isn't my Snow wife 10,000 times better than Zemura Ingli pair? Shue's pretty face turned red, not shy but angry. What's wrong with the airport? The airport has eaten your rice, and the charm of women does not rely on that thing. Shue stood up and lowered his gaze to look down. At first glance, I saw my own toes directly. You're so angry. I'm so angry. Xia is biting his lips. If the current Xiao Bai appears in front of him, Xia is so high and low that he wants to make the other person look good. In the final snowfall, Xue gritted his teeth and sat down again, picking up his diary and continuing to look. However, Xue was shocked by what was revealed in Xiao Bai's diary. Pixiv, it's natural to know what the anime is. After all, anime is a feature of neon. Is he just a person living in the anime? Xue continued to look at the diary in her hand with such doubts. Speaking of which, Hui Ye's wife is also an airport. Is it difficult to say that the ladies of wealthy families are all airports? Under the snow, Xue's mouth twitched slightly. LSP, who calls his wife when he sees a girl. But by the way, the old man who crossed in front of me is really impressive. The original Ming Empire was supposed to be destroyed in the hands of Chongzhen Zhu Yujian, and then it was occupied by the money rat-tailed Big Gold outside the pass. After the Eight-Nation Alliance invaded Dejin, all of the Jinling massacre was gone, and it was done beautifully. My senior adventurer managed to save the Ming dynasty from sunset, and even pushed it to its current position as the world's #1 military power. He is truly a role model for us. Even the little cherry blossom next door, with deep blood feuds, has become a province of the Ming dynasty. The senior traveler, Niu Bai. Under the snow, there was a hint of shock in Snow's eyes, which was already unbelievable. 3 things to do when reading. Read, collect, and reward. 02 Awesome's Novice Gift Bag. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Snowy Snow's eyes were filled with shock. Emperor Xingzong Zhuqian, the eldest son of Emperor Chongzhen Zhu Yujian, and his mother was Empress Zhou, the filial and virtuous empress. Born on the 4th day of the 2nd month in the 2nd year of Chongjin, he was conferred the title of Crown Prince the following year. After the destruction of the Forbidden City, Emperor Chongjin Zhu Yujian hung himself on the Coal Mountain. This crown prince swept away his decline like a celestial possessed body, and then the Ming dynasty seemed to have embarked on the path of hanging himself. Many historians cannot understand why this crown prince was mediocre for over a decade until the end of the Ming dynasty. As a result, this crown prince directly changed his previous style. In just a few short years, the world was cleared, the sea was leveled, and then science continued to develop like a game. In the last few decades, the Ming Empire controlled most of Asia and had to have many overseas colonies. If this holy emperor is also a traveler, then it can be explained. The snowfall suddenly made me feel like I had discovered some incredible secret. It's just what Xiao mentioned in his diary about having a blood feud with little Sakura. The snowfall is full of confusion and confusion. However, under the snow continued to watch. However, this world is really quite chaotic, with many anime mixed together to form a comprehensive anime world. In the cultivation methods of the female protagonist of Passersby, there are Ani Lunya, Kato Hui, Kashizuki Shiyu, Eiri Zemura, and Meiji Ichido. Among them there is indeed a problem with my story of youth and love. In it, there are 8 banners in Bikugu, snow under snow and snow under snow, Yubi Bin's clothes are tied, and the sun under snow is a colorful feather in the spirit of eating halberds. There are Xingping Chuangjin, Shizeo Huiranai, Shizeo Alice, Xiaolin Genshin, Jiji Guining Ning, Tian Suahue, and Shenliangzi Miss Kagaya wants me to confess in the minds of genius love battles. There are Shirakawa Yuko, Shigong Kagaya, Hayasaka AI, and Chika Fujiwara. There are other chaotic worlds, but although it has become like a pot of stew, there are also more wives, which is great. Dead House is really disgusting. Snowy Snow couldn't help but think of a sentence I had heard from some girls. The owner of this diary, Xiao, must have been a dead mansion before crossing over. Roast in the heart and then continue to read the diary. But this world is really not ordinary at all. What is the situation with those spirits that emerge? Why would such things emerge from the daily world of the anime? Fortunately, I have the cheat, golden finger, and as long as I write a diary every day, I can receive various rewards. Under the snow, I couldn't help but furrow my eyebrows slightly. Writing a diary can earn me rewards, and this golden finger is simply teaching me to get something for nothing. Today is the first day I awaken my memories, and it is also my 17th birthday in this lifetime. Wishing myself a happy birthday. I was 20 years old before crossing the river, and with the 17 years old after crossing the river, can I be considered a 37-year-old uncle? No, 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 before I was just asleep without any memory, so now I am only 17 years old, at most 20 years old. How could I be 30.7 years old or something like that? Under the snow, the corners of the mouth twitched, and there were really many inner scenes for this traveler. However, based on these words, it seems that this interloper is not a villain or anything like that, which makes Snow feel a little relieved in her heart. However, on the other hand, this time traveling was really unlucky. Because of inheritance issues, I was kicked out of the land of China by my father with this body. Then I came to this unfamiliar place where all my money was stolen. In the end, I met Eiri Zemura and the other party borrowed 100 yuan. As a result, I fell in love with Eiri Zemura and became her licking dog. It's simply a sin. The magnificent 7-foot body has turned into a licking dog. Fortunately, I have regained my memory now. As long as I continue to live honestly, one day this world will become my possession. Alright, the word count should be enough. Let me take a look at what the reward was for the first time. I have to criticize this system. When it comes to writing a diary, except for the first time when the reward is guaranteed, it's purely a matter of luck. Negative review. After reading the contents of the diary, Xia took a deep breath and a hint of hesitation flashed in her eyes. Is this diary true or false? Why did this diary appear in my own hands? On the other side. Inside the rental house, which was less than 20 square meters, Xiao put down his pen and heard a pleasant voice in his mind. Congratulations to the host for completing their first diary and receiving a beginner's gift pack. Congratulations to the host for obtaining the character card of Chinese character Lu Plio, which is 3 stars, permanent, can be upgraded, and can only be used once a day. Using this character card has a very low probability of obtaining a recipe made using it after the game ends. Congratulations to the host for obtaining 110 cubic space ring. Congratulations to the host for obtaining 5,000,000 Meng treasure coins. I posted it. Xiao widened his eyes. The novice gift package is too awesome, isn't it? Xiao couldn't help but feel ecstatic in his heart that the 5,000,000 Meng Bao Chao could help him solve the urgent situation, but it was just an addition. The 10 cubic meter space ring and the character card of the Chinese protagonist Xiao Dongjia are the big shots. However, the excitement in Xiao Bai's heart gradually dissipated, as he realized that the character card of the Little Master was only 3 stars, which was absolutely impossible. It is impossible for chefs at the level of Little Master to truly be considered as 3-star character cards with the progress of the times and culinary skills. This is obviously unreasonable. How to say it, it should be 4 stars. But soon Xiao understood why this character card only had 3 stars. That's because this character card is actually in the state before the young master went to Yangchuan restaurant to learn. That is to say, the little boss of this card is not even a top chef. But it doesn't matter. At least it has the strength of the superior chef, and there are many recipes, such as fried rice with golden eggs, and magic mapo tofu with 6 flavors. This beginner's big gift package is worth it. Feilu's novel, Fei Wants You to Look Good. 03 Xiao Bai. Do you still consider me the previous licking dog? You are listening at Novel Full.audio. The 500,000 Ming banknotes can be compared to the equivalent value of the green coins from the world before crossing. In this world, the Ming dynasty has already become the strongest in the world. The currency held is naturally the most valuable in the world. 500,000 green coins are more than enough for Xiao Bai to buy an apartment in this land and money-rich Tokyo area. As for the space ring, although it is only 10 cubic meters, it is also worth a lot of money. If it were to be sold, the price would be sky high. The last one is the character card of the young master. Although it is only a 3-star level and not yet a top-notch chef, at least it also has the strength of a superior chef. There are also many recipes that I know, so it's not a loss, it's just a profit. After all, at this time, the young master was already able to defeat the superior chef's Jian'an. Lu Lianxing, permanent, can be upgraded, is a 3-star character card that can currently be used once. Note: you can use a 4-star upgrade card to upgrade your character card to a 4-star rating. Looking at the character card in his hand, Xiao Bai didn't hesitate and silently used it in his heart. However, nothing has changed. Isn't this character card fake? Xiao Bai's heart began to murmur. But then Xiao Bai walked into the kitchen and grabbed the kitchen knife. However, just as he grasped the kitchen knife, Xiao Bai did notice something, which was that my knife seemed to have a feeling of blood connection. This kitchen knife seems to have become an extension of one's own arm. Xiao Bai took out some ingredients from the refrigerator. Then Xiao Bai experienced the power of a small leader once. The shining mapo tofu and the attractive fragrance in the air made Xiao Bai swallow his saliva. 1 tablespoon directly scooped up a portion of mapo tofu and put it into the import. The first feeling is numb but not bitter, followed by spicy and refreshing, followed by hot, but the tofu in the mouth is fresh, tender and smooth. Spicy and fragrant, with a tender and smooth taste. It's a pity that there are no ingredients at home, otherwise Xiao Bai will make magic mapo tofu with 6 in 1 this time. A whole plate of mapo tofu was eaten in a few minutes. Even though the burnt tongue was somewhat numb, it still made Xiaobai show a satisfied smile, but just when Xiaobai wanted to make another mapo tofu, Xiaobai did find that when he held the kitchen knife, he did not feel like he was connected by blood. Then Xiaobai looked at the character card. At this point, the character card has already fallen into a cooldown period. However, the cooling time is not 24 hours, but there are still over 8 hours left. This surprised Xiaobai a bit, and later he found that the remaining cooldown time coincided perfectly with midnight at night. That is to say, it can only be used once a day from after midnight to midnight the next day. Suddenly, a prompt sound came from the phone. After taking a glance at his phone, Xiaobai's eyebrows gradually furrowed. Zemura Ingli Li, Xiaobai, dinner is over. Why hasn't dinner been prepared yet? I'm starving. Please bring me dinner within 10 minutes. Watching the news sent by Ingli Zemura, Xiaobai's eyebrows furrowed, and his heart lit up as he watched the news. Before awakening his memory, Xiaobai cooked, cleaned, and ran errands for a group of people in the game production company without any compensation. Even the ingredients for cooking were made by Xiaobai himself. If it's just Eiri Zemura alone, then that's fine, but in the game settings, there's more than just Eiri Zemura. An Yilun, Xia Zhiqiu Shiyu, Kato Hui, Bing Tang Meiji Lu, and then add a Zemura Ingli pair. Xiaobai not only needs to help these 5 people cook and clean, but also needs to help them pick up the package. The more I thought about it, the more angry my heart became, and I almost dropped my phone in my hand. Fortunately, at a critical moment, Xiaobai withdrew his hand and realized that the loss of his phone was unnecessary. Finally, Xiaobai directly replied with a message to Ingli Zemura. Xiaobai. If you want to eat and order takeout by yourself, I owe you 100 yuan already paid off. In the future, when you cross your single wooden bridge, I will take my sunny path and don't contact you anymore. The prompt message shows that it has been read. Then the phone for the next lesson rang again. Looking at the name of Eiri Zemura on the caller ID, Xiaobai frowned. However, Xiaobai still connected the phone. Xiaobai. As soon as the phone was connected, Ingli Zemura's shout came into Xiaobai's ears. What's wrong with you? I'm hungry. The words of Eiri Zemura once again stirred up Xiaobai's previously suppressed anger. It's none of my business if you're hungry. Can't you order takeout if you're hungry? Xiaobai roared directly. But didn't you keep sending me meals before? After hearing his roar from Xiaobai, Ingli Zemura couldn't help but lower her voice. Does TMD owe you anything? I borrowed 100 yuan from you back then and it should have been paid off long ago. If it's not enough, I'll give you another 100 yuan. The other end of the phone fell into silence, and it was obvious that Zetsuan Ingli did not expect Xiaobai to roar at her one day. But if it weren't for the food you made, I wouldn't be able to eat it. Xiaobai, who heard this sentence, was also angry and laughed. It's none of my business if you can't eat anymore. Anyway, if you want to eat, you can order takeout yourself. I won't go to that damn game club again. After saying that, Xiaobai hung up the phone directly, and the good mood that had originally come from eating delicious mapo tofu became worse directly. Damn it, before awakening my memories, I really wanted to strangle myself. Thinking of himself who had not awakened his memory before, Xiaobai had an impulse to strangle himself. Jixia Academy Game Society. Ingli Zemura was completely dumbfounded by the busy voice on the phone. What's wrong with Xiaobai? How could he suddenly get angry with himself? Ingli Zemura couldn't figure out what was wrong with Xiaobai. You know very well about Xiaobai's liking for herself, but Ingli Zemura has not expressed anything. 3 things to do when reading. Read, collect, and reward. 04 Tolerate for a while, the more you think, the angrier you get, and take a step back, the more you think, the more you lose. You are listening at novel full.audio. Ingli Zemura knew that Xiaobai liked her, but she did not explicitly refuse Xiao Bai. Even Eiri Zemura feels a bit smug because Xiao Bai likes to be his own licking dog. I called Xiao Bai to the game production company established by an Yilun and asked him to cook for me. It's not really because Xiao Bai cooks well, but because Eiri Zemura brought Xiao Bai to an Yilun in front of her, wanting to use this way to tell an Yilun that she also has someone who likes her. As expected, after bringing Xiao Bai here, Eiri Zemura clearly felt that an Yilun also cared more about her, which made Eiri Zemura feel a bit proud in her heart. Although there is also a small guilt in my heart because of this, it is somewhat despicable to use the other person to achieve the goal of stimulating an Yilun. But after seeing Xiao Bai still devoted herself wholeheartedly, the little guilt in her heart quickly disappeared completely. Even it was only natural to provoke Xiao Bai. After all, having a licking dog that won't reject any demands can greatly satisfy one's vanity. It can also show the game production company that Xia Zhiqiu Shiyu and Bing Tang Meiji Liudu also have a licking dog. Xia Zhiqiu Shiyu looked at Zemura Eiri and then said to her, "When will Xiao Bai bring food over?" After hearing Xia Zhiqiu Shiyu's words, Eiri Zemura fell silent and said, "Xiao Bai is not feeling well today. Let's order takeout." Xia Zhiqiu Shiyu looked at Zetsu and Eiri pair and didn't say anything more. In the heart of Eiri Zemura, she was thinking that if she calls Xiao Bai tomorrow and goes on a date with him, he will definitely become her own licking dog. Kato Hui beside her looked at Eiri Zemura with a pensive expression in her eyes. Xiao Bai is not feeling well. It's impossible at all. Once, even if Xiao Bai had a fever of 42 degrees, he would still be delivering rice to Eiri Zemura. But today, Xiao Bai didn't come just because of some discomfort. Obviously, something happened. I have some other things to attend to, so I'll leave today. After Kato K said a word, she left the game production company. Shiyu Shirikaki and Eiri Zemura, along with a Meiji Ryu from the ice house, didn't say much and allowed Kato K to leave. In the student union office of Jixia Academy, Shigong Hui frowned and looked at the diary in his hand. On the cover, there is the words, "Exclusive to Shigong Hui," on the copy of Xiao Bai's diary. Xiao Bai. I have heard of the name Xiao Bai, Shigong Hui, naturally. The same grade is only in different classes. Xiao Bai's reputation in school is not very good, after all, you can't expect a licking dog to have any good reputation. A traveler. A golden finger. Kanzuya Satamiya was lost in thought, and then picked up an old flip phone and made a phone call. The phone was quickly connected. "Miss Hui, what can I do for you?" On the other end of the phone came the voice of AI Hayasaka. "Zayosaka, I want you to investigate a person named Xiao Bai in our school, and I need all his information." The other end of the phone remained silent for a long time, without hearing the answer from her maid. Shigong Hui couldn't help but furrow her eyebrows slightly. "Are there any difficulties, Hayasaka?" "Miss Hui, why did you suddenly become interested in Xiao Bai?" "It's nothing. Just follow my instructions and investigate Xiao Bai." Shigong Hui did not explain the diary that suddenly appeared in his hand. Emperor Shenzong, a traveler. Upon hearing these key words, the pupils of Shigong Hui contracted. "Do you also have that diary?" Shigong Hui almost blurted it out. "Yes, I also have a diary of Xiao Bai, which appeared in front of me out of thin air." As I looked at the diary in my hand that was written exclusively for Higashiya Shimiya, it seemed acceptable to have an exclusive copy for Asaka AI, but could there be anyone else? "So you should have already investigated the information about Xiao Bai, right?" "Sorry, we encountered some obstacles, but there will be results soon. Investigate thoroughly as soon as possible and hand over the information to me." "Understood." Shigong Hui hung up the phone, and suddenly the diary in his hand began to shine. Shigong Hui was stunned for a moment, only to find that the diary automatically opened and new words emerged. "I just received a beginner's gift package and I am very satisfied. It costs 500,000 yuan in Ming Dynasty treasure money, plus a 10 cubic meter space ring and a character card from Lu Pleiad in Zhonghua Yifeng. Lu Pleiadian's character card was used to make a mapo tofu for himself. It was delicious, really delicious, but there was no material. Otherwise, I had to try the magic mapo tofu of 6-in-1. Yuanyue Academy. Shaving and painting. Rina exclaimed in surprise. Alice, who was also in the other room, exclaimed in surprise, while other girls such as Genshin Kobayashi and Ning Ning from Yizhi country were also shocked by the news in the diary. Unfortunately, the character card of Lu Lianxing is only at the 3-star level, belonging to Lu Lianxing, who has not yet become a top-level chef. It would be great if he were at the level of a top-level chef. It's a pity that the character card can only be used once a day. After buying the materials tomorrow, make a 6-in-1 magic mapo tofu to reward yourself. Seeing this, the girls like Razor and Rina breathed a sigh of relief. In this world, Lu Pleiades has actually existed, and the culinary god Lu Pleiades is the idol of all chefs. But now I am in a bad mood, and the good mood generated by eating delicious mapo tofu is suddenly destroyed. Is that woman from Eiri Zemura calling to say she's hungry and asking me to bring food over? Why don't you, damn it? You're hungry and don't know how to order takeout. Let me bring you food. Do you still consider me the same licking dog you used to be? It's really infuriating. I can't bear it for a while, but the more I think about it, the more angry I become. Taking a step back, the more I think about it, the more I lose. I have traveled through time, and there are also golden fingers. If I don't want to return them, I might as well die. Decided, find a way to conquer Zetsuan lilies. I want to make Zetsuan Ingli call daddy. Feilu's novel, Fei wants you to look good. 05 Jian'an Fenggu, Wei Wui Feng, Meng de Yizhi. You are listening at novelfull.audio. A group of girls couldn't help but twitch their lips as they watched the content in their diary. Wow, Xiao Bai actually wants to use this method to retaliate against Eiri Zemura. Not to mention the thought of Eiri Zemura knowing that her mother and father had divorced and then being with Xiao Bai. Almost everyone had already thought of what kind of collapsed expression Zemura Ingli would show. In the villa of the Zemura family. Zetsuan Xiaolili couldn't help but twitch at the corners of her mouth as she looked at the text recorded in her diary. Ingli Li, you've caused your mother a lot of trouble right now. For this diary that suddenly appeared in front of her, Zemura Xiaolili initially watched it with the idea of eating melons and watching movies. Unexpectedly, I found out that eating melons had hit me, and now I, as a mother, have to bear the consequences of my daughter's good deeds. Just as little Lily in Zetsuan was struggling with how to solve the problem her daughter had caused, words began to appear in her diary. Forget it, at least I still have a sense of integrity. I really can't do things like ruining someone else's marriage for this kind of thing. Seeing the text recorded by Xiao Bai, Zetsuan Xiaolili breathed a sigh of relief in her heart, and then became curious about Xiao Bai. This Xiao Bai's surprise is quite good. The same other girls who saw this content also had a slight liking for Xiao Baisheng. At least this guy was not really abnormal enough to go and destroy someone else's family in order to retaliate against Zetsuan Ingli. But since we cannot use this method to retaliate against Eiri Zemura, what kind of method should we use to retaliate against Eiri Zemura? Let me think about what doesn't want to happen to Eiri Zemura. With this, it is possible to expose the fact that Eiri Zemura is actually a Benzi painter, as no one would have imagined. Her father was a diplomat and her mother was a native Chinese, but the result was that she was a Benzi painter in the dark. A group of people looked at this news in disbelief. A young lady named Ingli Zemura was actually a notebook painter, with her father being a British diplomat and her mother being a native Chinese. But the daughter she gave birth to is actually a notebook painter. Shimiya Hiroyoshi picked up his phone with some confusion and dialed Hayasaka AI's phone number. Sayaka, what is that notebook painter? The pure Miss Huiyi clearly did not know what a notebook was. so she directly called her exclusive maid to inquire about what a notebook painter was. Then, under the explanation of Ai Hayasaka, the pure Miss Kagaya finally began to become impure. Knowing what a notebook painter is, Shigong Hui blushed and shouted, "It's really too vulgar, vulgar." Zemura Lilies was sweating cold sweat on her forehead. If this incident involving Ingli Li is exposed, Ingli Li can directly die in society. It must not be enough to expose this matter. Zemura Xiao Lili immediately wanted to use means to make Xiao Bai shut up. However, in the next moment, Xiao Lili Zemura covered her heart and collapsed in pain. It took several seconds for Zemura Lili to gradually recover. A line of text also appeared on top of the diary. The diary holder is prohibited from harming the diary recorder in any way. Just now, Xiao Lili Zemura, who had almost experienced death, looked at the line of blood-colored words that appeared on her diary, and a hint of fear flashed in her eyes. Just now, Zetsuan Xiaolila's heart stopped beating for several seconds and walked directly on the gate of hell. Looking at this diary, Zetsuan Xiaolila's eyes appeared confused. "Ingli Li, how can Mom help you?" Suddenly, the little Lily of Zetsuan saw new content appearing on the diary. "Unfortunately, although I want to be the thief, I can't let go of that face and I can't pass the hurdle of conscience. Otherwise, Mrs. Zemura Xiao Lili would be a leading lady in the world of wives, along with Mrs. Alice Field, Mrs. Snow, and other wives of the same level, such as Tai Bin, Fei Yingli, and Yukiko Kudo. Unfortunately, if I don't have a conscience, I can inherit the legacy of Jian'an, the legacy of Wei Wu, the legacy of Meng De, and learn from Cao Cao's Wei Wu whip. Unfortunately, I can't pass the hurdle of conscience. As long as I swing the hoe well, I can't dig corners, but as someone who grew up under the red flag, I really can't do such things. Let's just follow fate. If he doesn't know which day these wives will divorce or lose their spouses, then I can openly pursue these wives." Suddenly, a group of girls had a speechless expression on their faces, and this guy was really shameless. In the end, everyone who saw the diary gave this kind of evaluation, but overall, the owner of this diary, Xiao Bai, was still given a good evaluation. "Although I was a bit shameless, I didn't think about doing those shameless things. Speaking of which, the previous one seemed to have died suddenly, and then it was because of this sudden death that I remembered the memories of my previous life." The person who saw the diary suddenly felt a tug in their heart and died suddenly. It's all because of Eiri Zemura's blue pond. If the person I didn't awaken memories from before appeared in front of me now, I would definitely strangle him to death. When it comes to licking dogs, it's really amazing. Not only do they have to cook, clean, and run errands for those individuals every day, but they also have to work and earn living expenses during their free time. Most of the living expenses are also used to feed those rice worms. They sleep for less than 6 hours a day, which lasts for almost a year. It's really disgusting. The group of people watching the diary suddenly fell into silence. It can be said that the other party's attitude of wanting to kill Zetsuan Ingli without any resentment can almost be said to be kind, right? Although he wanted to expose the fact that Eiri Zemura was a painter and caused the death of Eiri Zemura, compared to what Eiri Zemura did, what Xiao Bai did seemed not excessive. Feilu's novel, Fei Wants You to Look Good. 06 Shocked Shaving and Painting Rina. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Speaking of which, it's really speechless. Before the awakening of memories in this world, the predecessor seemed to have some misfortune. Due to the inheritance of the heir, he was driven to this Neon province, resulting in not even providing living expenses and having to earn it himself. And then, with some small help from Eiri Zemura, he became a licking dog and ended up risking his life. What kind of life pain is he suffering from? But fortunately, he has finally come through all the hardships. Not only has his memory awakened, but he has also gained a golden finger. Writing a diary every day can earn him rewards. Although not every time he writes a diary, there are rewards, but I don't believe my luck is so bad that no reward is given for writing a diary. However, speaking of which, there are also good people in the game production company. After all, Kato Hui doesn't have the same peace of mind as the other few people. She usually buys some ingredients and helps me clean up. As expected, Kato Hui is the best among the female protagonists of Passers-by. Forget it, don't mention it. Although it's only after 5 o'clock, I still go to bed quickly. I'm afraid that if I don't take a rest soon, I may die suddenly again. It's really blood loss. Good night, my anime wives. Shameless, who is your wife now? A group of women named in their diary blushed one after another. Xia was about to close his diary, but unexpectedly, a line of text appeared on top of it. The diary recorder will receive a reward, and the diary copy holder will randomly select one person to receive a reward. Today, draw a 6-in-1 magic mapo tofu recipe. Using this recipe, you can make 6-in-1 magic mapo tofu. Under the snow, the pupils of Snow's eyes contracted. Can these diary copy holders also receive rewards? Those who saw this line of text were shocked, and then a glimmer of expectation rose in their hearts. If they received a reward, it would prove that everything was true. Congratulations to the diary holder XXXXX for obtaining the 6-in-1 magic mapo tofu recipe. In Yuanhua school, Xiao Qiadru looked at the cookbook in front of him and was shocked. The reward was given by him and the recipe of the 6-in-1 magic mapo tofu was also true. The finger touched the recipe, and the instant recipe turned into a golden light and was put into the eyebrow center of Shaving and Painting Rina. Later, Shaving and Painting Rina found that there was a magic mapo tofu recipe in his memory. Without saying a word, Shaving immediately arrived at the kitchen. A minute later, looking at the strange light of the 6-in-1 magic mapo tofu, Shaving, cutting and painting, Rina fell into silence. It's actually true. Until now, I have really made the 6-in-1 magic mapo tofu shaved and cut for you. I believe that all this is true. If my reward is real, then the reward Xiao received, as well as the character card of Chef God Lu Pleiades, is also real. The other party can use Chef God Lu Pleiades' cooking skills every day. Upon seeing Xiao Bai's reward, Shaving and Painting Rina took a deep breath, and couldn't help but feel envious. The kitchen god, Lu Plio Xing, was Rina's most admired idol. If you have obtained a character card from Lu Plioxing. Oh, what's so delicious? A crisp female voice came from outside the door, and soon after, Shaki Rina saw his cousin Shaki Alice walking in. What dish did you make, Irina? Shaving Alice curiously asked. Holding the chest with both hands, shaving and drawing the proud and charming Rina, he said with a cold snort, since you have found a cookbook by chance, you can have a good taste. The 6-in-1 magic mapo tofu inherited by the kitchen god Lu Pliaxin. Shaving and Painting Rina thought that her cousin would be shocked when she said these words, but to her surprise, a strange expression appeared on her face. The one who got the 6-in-1 magic mapo tofu recipe unexpectedly drew you from Rina. Shaving and drawing, Nileng hesitated for a moment, and then seemed to react. Alice, do you also have that diary? That's right, but unfortunately, I didn't receive the reward this time. Shaving Alice looked at Shaving Rina with some unwillingness. Suddenly, a mischievous smile appeared on his face and he said, Mrs. Irina. Shaving and Painting Rina's face immediately flushed with embarrassment. You shut up, I'm not that guy's wife, and isn't that guy also calling you, wife, in his diary? I don't care, after all, they just shout in their diary without breaking the law, and I'm also happy to be liked. Shaving and Painting Rina gritted his teeth as he watched Shaving and Cutting Alice. After all, Shaving and Painting Rina is not as thick-skinned as Shaving Alice. On the other side, Xiao Bai, who had hastily taken a shower, lay directly under the bed. At this moment, in his dream, Xiao Bai was playing cards with Zhou Gong's daughter. Downstairs from Xiao Bai, Kato Hui sighed as she looked at the already extinguished light and did not go up to disturb her. Looking through the diary in my hand, a slight smile appeared at the corner of my mouth. It seems that Xia Zhiqiu and Zetsuan have not received the diary. Good night then, Xiao Bai Jun. Finally, Kato turned around and left. Since Xiao Bai Jun doesn't plan to go to the game production company again, there's no need for me to stay there either. On the other hand, feeling somewhat unhappy because Xiao Bai didn't come to deliver the meal, Eiri Zemura returned home feeling unhappy. Mom, what happened? Looking at the serious-looking Zemura Lily, Zemura Ingli asked with some confusion. Ingli Li, I have something to talk to you about. Ah, let's forget about today. I'm not in the mood. After speaking, Eiri Zemura will go upstairs. Zetsuan Xiaolili couldn't help but feel a hint of anger in her heart as she looked at Zetsuan Ingli's appearance. She felt that the things her daughter did were too much for her mother. Sit down for me. Seeing her own mother's appearance, Eiri Zemura's eyes were filled with astonishment. What's wrong? 3 things to do when reading. Read, collect, and reward. 07 The detestable appearance of Eiri Zemura. You are listening at novel.full.audio. The little Lily in Zetsuan couldn't help but feel angry when she saw her daughter still looking innocent. If Zetsuan Ingli doesn't like Xiao Bai, then it's better to reject him directly. The result is not only hanging Xiao Bai, but also causing Xiao Bai to spend time and effort trying to please Zetsuan Ingli. Even more so, he died suddenly just to earn a living. And the money earned will also be used to support the rice worms like Zetsuan Ingli Li and Yilun. Even Yuri Zemura, as the mother of Eiri Zemura, feels it's too much. So now Zetsuan Xiaolilis are really angry. Regarding Xiao Bai's attempt to expose the identity of the artist, Hideyoshi Zemura, Yuriko Zemura felt that Xiao Bai's actions were too kind. If it were for herself, Zetsuan Xiaolili would definitely use even more brutal methods to retaliate. At least Zetsuan Xiaolili believes that Xiao Bai's first method before was to destroy Zetsuan Ingli's family and retaliate against each other. Unfortunately, Xiao Bai's heart softened and he couldn't do that kind of thing. This relieved the little Lily in Zetsuan's heart and made him even more fond of Xiao Bai. This young man is a pity. If Zetsuan Xiaolili had known about this before, she would definitely have matched her daughter and Xiao Bai, but now based on Xiao Bai's resentment towards Zetsuan Ingli. This matter is definitely out of the question. But I also thought to myself that Zetsuan Xiaolili felt uncomfortable. Xiao Bai is not 100 times stronger than that in Yilun. Why did my daughter, who has such poor eyesight, fall in love with an Yilun, that useless person? Ingli Li, sit down. I have something to talk to you about. Seeing that her mother was not joking, Eiri Zemura sat down honestly. Mom, what do you want to talk about? Do you have a diary? Zemura Ingli looked at Zemura Xiaolili with a bewildered expression. Seeing the appearance of Zemura Ingli, Zemura Xiaolili knew that Ingli must not have sighed inwardly. However, upon reflection, how could Xiao Bai possibly keep a diary of Ingli Li's level of dislike towards her now? And the diary clearly shows how Xiao Bai's golden fingers could possibly give Ingli Li, a person Xiao Bai dislikes. Ingli Zemura's face showed a stiff expression. It seems that you haven't received the day. Zemura Lily still wanted to confirm again, but suddenly she felt a palpitations. The heart beats rapidly, almost giving the feeling of bursting. Yuri Zemura immediately realized that this was likely a warning. What diary, Mom? It's nothing, we need to have a good conversation about the boy named Xiao Bai in your school. Ingli Zemura's face showed a stiff expression. Since you don't like that boy, just reject him directly instead of constantly hanging on and enjoying his tenderness, and then calmly manipulating him. As a viewer of the diary, Zemura Xiaolili feels that her daughter is like the villainous female protagonist in those novels, and she wants to step forward and give her a hard slap. Even now, the little Lily in Dee's village feels that her daughter's face looks somewhat detestable. It's not that I made him my licking dog, it's his own willingness. Listening to what Eiri Zemura said, Yuri Zemura widened her eyes. Just now, the little lily from Zetsuan almost couldn't help but slap it. Do you want to hear what kind of animal you're talking about? Xiao by himself is willing, do you consider Xiao by despicable? If it weren't for truly liking the other person, they would be willing to be your licking dog. If you don't like it, simply refuse. Suppressing her desire to slap her daughter, Yuriko Zemura said to Eiri Zemura, if you don't like the other person, then just reject them and don't keep hanging on to them. I know how to handle this matter, so don't worry about it, Mom. After speaking, Eiri Zemura went upstairs directly, while Yuri Zemura clenched her fists tightly. How could this daughter look so disgusting all at once? After finally suppressing the anger in her heart, Zetsuan Xiaolili couldn't help but feel a headache. Having such a daughter on the table, as a mother, is truly a sin. It seems that I can only talk to Xiao Bai and try to compensate him as much as possible, and then downplay some of Xiao Bai's hatred towards Anglili. It was already the second day after waking up, and the alarm clock on his phone kept reminding Xiao Bai that he should be ready for class now. After hastily washing up, Xiao Bai went out and passed by a convenience store on the way. He walked in and bought a loaf of bread to eat on the way. When I stepped into the classroom, I happened to step on the bell and entered the classroom. Really, there are quite a few acquaintances. Sakamoto Yuji, Yoshii Mingjio, and Kishida Hideyoshi are all in the same class as him, and their relationship is quite good. Good morning, Xiao Bai. When passing by, Sakamoto Yuji greeted Xiao Bai. Good morning, Xiong. Xiao Bai responded and then sat down in his seat. After that, Sakamoto Yuji looked at Xiao Bai and asked strangely, aren't you going to help Eiri Zemura prepare a bento today? Oh, you said that. I have decided to give up. After all, if the other person could really be moved by me, they would have been moved so long ago and wouldn't have waited until now. Since I can't move the other person, there's no need for me to continue licking my face, and being a licking dog is also very tiring. Upon hearing Xiao Bai's words, Yuji Sakamoto showed a surprised expression. After hearing this, Yoshii Mingjio and Tsuchiya Yasuda also leaned over and said, Xiao Bai, you actually figured it out. Don't talk, I seem like that kind of brainless person. Yoji Sakamoto on one side directly roast. Aren't you? Xiao Bai raised his eyebrows and eyes and said, at least not yet. 3 things to do when reading. Read, collect, and reward. 08 is a good time for brothers to cut corners, but when it comes to money, I'm not familiar with it. You are listening at novel.Audio. Just as Xiao Bai was speaking, a woman with pink hair walked in outside. After seeing Xiao Bai, the other party immediately stepped forward. Good morning, Xiao Bai Jun. Xiao Bai paused for a moment before looking at the girl in front of him with a smile and responding, Good morning, Jilu. Yoshii Mingjio, on the other side, couldn't help but say with the look of Xiao Bai and Jilu Rueishi, Jilu has a really good relationship with Xiao Bai. Sakamoto Toshio patted Yoshii Mingjio's shoulder twice. After all, it's not normal for Xiao Bai to be liked by girls because he's the most handsome one in our class. If it weren't for Eiri Zemura, there might have been girls confessing to Xiao Bai long ago. Because of Sakamoto Yuji's words, Hime Hiroshi showed a hint of shyness on her face and explained in a flustered tone, No, it's not like this, it's just. Jilu Rueishi felt a bit anxious and wanted to explain, but she couldn't speak up because she wanted to mention the diary. This appearance actually made everyone think that Jilu Rueishi was being mentioned as the main issue and shy. However, Xiao Bai doesn't think so. Xiong, don't bully Jilu, you know that Jilu has a very shy personality. Okay, but are you really not planning on pursuing Eiri Zemura? Of course not. Currently, I have no interest in Yuza Village's Ingli pair, and I even have a sense of disgust and disgust. Sakamoto Toshio patted Xiao Bai's shoulder and said, It should have been like this long ago. I originally wanted to hand over these photos to you, but now it seems that they are no longer needed. Tu Kongtai took out some photos and handed them to Xiao Bai. Above these photos are some playful photos of Eiri, Zemura and Yizhi, which are too intimate to put simply. Seeing these photos, Xiao Bai just smiled faintly as he looked at the earthen house and said, "Thank you very much for being a coquettish pervert, but don't do such a thing. Stealing photos in this province is illegal." It is false for Xiao Bai to say that he is not grateful for the behavior of Tsuchiya Yasutai, as secretly taking photos in this province is illegal. Taking these illegal photos for himself, Tsuchiya Yasutai can be said to be a good brother. Xiong Er, as well as Ming Jiao and Xiu Ji, have all given money. Xiao Bai hesitated for a moment and looked at Sakamoto Yuji, Kishida Hideyoshi, and Yoshii Mingjio. You. Sakamoto Toshio patted Xiao Bai's shoulder and said, okay, otherwise you can give me the money back. When it came to the matter of money, Xiao Bai's expression on his face suddenly changed. It's not a problem for you to ask me to do everything for you, but if you ask me to repay the money, I'm sorry, we're not familiar. Sakamoto Yuji raised a middle finger at Xiao Bai. On one side, Hideyoshi Kishida sighed, originally, we just wanted to make a final effort. If you want to keep these photos in front of you like that, then we have no choice. Yoshii Mingjio just said with some anger, that Zemura Ingli pair is really too much. Xiao Bai smiled and said, it's okay, I will make him pay the price. Sakamoto Yuji frowned as he looked at Xiao Bai's advice and said, let's just forget it. It's not easy to get into trouble with the family of Eiri Zemura. The other party's father is not only a British diplomat, but his mother is also of Chinese ethnicity. Although Chinese ethnicity may appear different from ordinary people today, the other party has a lot of social connections and wealth. Don't worry, I won't be foolish enough to do anything to end up with the other person, let alone stab them with a knife. A brilliant smile appeared on his face, but when he saw this smile, Yuji Sakamoto was indeed shivering all over. Forget it, I don't care about you. In short, you should pay more attention to yourself. Don't be foolish. You're still young, don't do anything foolish. Don't worry. Seeing that Xiao Bai didn't seem to be perfunctory, he nodded. Jilu Rueishi was secretly watching Xiao Bai on the side. As the class bell rang, Xiao Bai sat in his seat and began listening, but in reality, he began to record his diary. Today when I came to school, I found that all the classmates in the class were acquaintances. Stupid test summoners include Nobuyoshi Sakamoto, Akira Yoshii, Yasuda Tsuchiya, and Hideyoshi Kishida, who is of the same gender as Hideyoshi. Of course, there are also cute classmates like Himeji. However, what surprised me was that even though Sakamoto Yuji and his team risked breaking the law to secretly take some intimate photos of Eiri Zemura and Yizhi, hoping that after seeing them, I would wake up and no longer continue to be a licking dog. I was moved. These friendships have made me a little more concerned about this world. Originally, I only saw myself as an outsider to see everything in this world, but now I have a slight desire to integrate into this world after learning that I wanted to retaliate against Eiri Zemura. Xiong Er advised me to give up, worried that I would trade with Eiri Zemura. Are you joking? I wouldn't take my own life to trade with him as long as it is announced that Eiri Zemura is the identity of a book painter, Eiri Kashiwagi. She will directly die socially, and then there's the other person in that garbage club, an Yilun, who has been harassing me before. If I don't retaliate properly and come back, I can't swallow it in one breath. Since that's the case, I'm making your blog stinky and trying to find a way to make an Yilun also owe a lot of debt. An Yilun's entire value is only limited to the hundreds of thousands of fans on his blog. As long as he messes up an Yilun's blog and then disguises himself as a game developer who wants to invest in an Yilun, he has to make an Yilun owe a lot of debt, and his life will be ruined. Next up is the woman Xia Zhiqiu Shiyu. Xia Zhiqiu Shiyu is quite popular among otaku men. After all, her black silk legs wrapped in pantyhose can really attract LSP, but I'm sorry, I'm not a generous person. I want to find a way to stink Zhiqiu Shiyu's light novels and pour some dirty water on her, such as relying on selling her body to the editor-in-chief of the editing agency to exchange for various resources. 3 things to do when reading. Read, collect, and reward. 09 wants to see his wife explode in clothing. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Also, there is Bingtang Myziliu. Previously, he was familiar with the so-called original music that the other party had done, so as long as he could find the familiar parts and then find evidence, Sherhammer, Bingtang Myziliu would be finished. Although such behavior may be a bit despicable, it also depends on who it is used against. An Yilun and that group of people, even if I do it excessively, have no need to feel guilty. After all, adults' means are much dirtier than this one, and I should say it's quite benevolent just to achieve this level. Xia couldn't help but furrow his brows slightly as he looked at the text recorded in his diary before him. He had some disapproval of the methods used by Xiao Bai, Xia. Xia does not oppose Xiao Bai's revenge, but Xiao Bai's methods should not be so despicable. Sigong Hui looked at the diary contents recorded by Xiao Bai with a slight smile on his lips, but this smile did not have any hint of humor at all, only endless indifference. It's really cute, just this one appearance is enough. It seems like you're really kind and soft-hearted. How could Xiao Bai just plan to retaliate like this? As the children trained by the imperial education of the Sigong family, Sigong Hui is not a kind-hearted person, so seeing Xiao Bai's methods, Sigong Hui only finds it a bit funny. It's too kind. If it were for Sigong Hui, the means of revenge would be even more radical. The teacher on stage, who was giving a lecture, began to shiver all over when he saw the smile on Sigong Hui's face. Sigong Hui, it's the teacher. Do you have any questions about what I'm talking about? This teacher looked at Sigong Hui's trembling inquiry. The first thought of this classroom was that if they were to be held accountable, they would have to contribute to the land reclamation project. No, I just thought of some funny things. Teacher, please continue with your class. The flat voice of Sigong Hui made the teacher breathe a sigh of relief. Today, let's quit those part-time jobs. Anyway, I have already received so much Ming Dynasty treasure money that I can live a good life and wait to die. As long as I have to write a diary every day, sooner or later I can elevate Lu Lianqing's task card to the top level. All the girls who saw this line fell silent. As long as they wrote a diary, they could gain such benefits. They didn't envy it at all, really not at all. A group of women who bite on handkerchiefs in their hearts express no envy at all. But to be honest, Jilu Ruishi is really cute, and as a classmate, she is also very shy. However, that idiot Mingjiu really gave me a headache. I couldn't understand the atmosphere at all. Suddenly, a sentence came out that Jilu Ruishi and I have a good relationship, which made everyone embarrassed. Although I am very handsome, in my previous infamous situation, I did not become narcissistic to the extent that the other person secretly loved me, so it shows that Jiu, this idiot, really can't understand the atmosphere at all. But by the way, did I snatch the plot of Mingjiu from the original plot? Did I take Jilu to the health room after she fainted in the exam room? Jilu Ruishi's face turned red, and she was secretly in love with something. Her eyes couldn't help but glance at Xiao Bai, and she noticed that Xiao Bai's cheeks were propped up on one side, and her eyes were clearly empty. There is absolutely no such thing as a crush, just a slight liking, just a little bit. Jilu Ruishi didn't admit in her heart that she had a crush on Xiao Bai or something, and that crush was definitely fake. Speaking of which, this world has really become a bit strange and ancient, and it is clear that there are indeed those spirits in daily life. Ancient chefs made delicious food to appease restless spirits, thus signing contracts with spirits to master their power and various magical abilities. It was clear that in a world before the arrival of my senior traveler, there were none of these things. But after my senior traveler arrived, he had them. Could it be that my senior traveler brought them? The group of girls watching the diary instantly tightened their pupils. If Xiao Bai's guess is true, and that Emperor Xingzong is a traveler, then is the other party also carrying some cheats? The cheat carried by Xiao Bai can be rewarded as long as he writes a diary, which Emperor Xingzong. A group of people seem to feel like they have inadvertently learned the truth about the world. Speaking of which, I can now consume the character card of Lu Pleiades once a day. Can I use this character card to sign a contract with the spirit and master extraordinary power? It's a bit exciting, but as an ordinary person, I have always wanted extraordinary power. Forget it, Lu Plio's character cards are not even top-notch chefs now. It's better not to take risks. Let's wait until the character cards are upgraded to top-notch chefs. If a person dies, there will be nothing left. This kind of adventure is still worth it. The first goal is to live, the second goal is to make yourself live better, and the third goal is to find ways to marry all the anime wives and stick to them. Who's going to be your wife? Who's going to stick to you? Shaving and cutting, Irina blushed and cursed, while the new household Fei Sha looked at her own Miss Irina and nodded repeatedly, that's right, that's right. This man is really abnormal. I will protect Miss Irina's chastity. Speaking of Lu Pleiadian, it reminds me of shackle-painted Rina. Which one is better, Lu Pleiadian's super taste and shackle-painted Rina's divine tongue? But in my opinion, it should be super taste. After all, the divine tongue has such a big flaw that it can easily explode, it's simply weak and explosive. Shaving and painting Rina. You're weak and explosive, you bastard. I was actually looked down upon by Xiao Bai in his diary, which made Shazui Rina unable to accept it. Thinking of others seeing Xiao Bai's diary, Shazui Rina felt an itchy sensation. Speaking of which, in the anime Spirit of the Euphorbia, after eating delicious dishes, everyone will burst into clothes. In reality, is this also the case? If there is a chance, I must cook for my wives. I definitely don't want to watch them burst into clothes, I just want to cook for my wives. Really? A group of people cursed in unison. Vulgar. 3 things to do when reading. Read, collect, and reward.